Good afternoon from Donington, where indeed we've got a lineup here for the second round of the World of Sport Superbike Challenge. The fastest man in practice was Ron Haslam, riding machine number 2 this afternoon, and he has lapped this morning quicker than he has ever done around Donington in 1 minute 15.5 seconds. That's Ron Haslam, Rocket Ron Haslam. He has a new hobby, he was telling me this morning. He now has a powered hang glider, powered by a 250cc engine, which he likes to sort of hang around in the sky, as he put it. The bike today is 1000cc. Barry Sheen, hello, mum. Good old Barry. Barry, 1 minute 15.8, and as you've heard, he's got an experimental bike there, but Barry is in good form indeed, and looking forward to great things here at this John Player weekend of motorcycling at Donington. Number 4 is Graham Crosby, Supercross, New Zealand, the man who had a double win in the Isle of Man TT only last week when he won the Formula 1 and also the Classic. Number 18, and that is Graham Wood from Scunthorpe, and he lapped this morning 4th fastest in practice in 1:16.6. Number 11 is Roger Marshall from Rugby, and away now on a warm-up lap. Number 10, you can see is Mick Grant. Number 3 was Corky Valentin, and away they go now on this warm-up lap, warming up the tyres. One warm-up lap, and it's Rocket Ron Haslam leading. You'll see the speed increasing as the race goes on, as these tyres get their warmth. Well, Phil Reid is with me, and I think conditions must be just about perfect.
Well, yes, Peter, today, but it's just a bit cold. It will take the tyres about 3 or 4 laps to warm up, and they'd really like, I'm sure, 2 laps warm-up before the start of this race. It looks really exciting with only 1.3 seconds covering the first 5 riders. I expect actually to see Corky Valentin, who's actually 7th fastest, to be up there in the first 3.
It's going to be very interesting to see how Barry Sheen's machine goes, because it is experimental, isn't it? A lot of work's been done on it, and it'll be curious to see how he does perform, leading the championship, of course.
Well, yes, Peter, certainly. He's trailing, I think, in about 5th place at the moment in the World 500 Championship. But today he's got his Grand Prix 500 machine, which is a square 4, using the 16-inch front wheel. And had the conditions been a bit damp, he'd have had to revert back to the 18-inch wheel, which doesn't make the machine handle very well, so he's very lucky today.
And approaching now the chicane on this warm-up lap, the riders then will line up on the grid. It's an 18-lap race, a total distance of 35.23 miles, but the fastest part of the circuit, Starkey Straight, and they'll be touching there in 6th gear, somewhere around about 150 miles an hour. The red flag you can see being held there to stop the riders as they come back and line up into position. Positions taken on practice times, of course, from this morning, which means that Ron Haslam is in pole position with the fastest lap. Barry Sheen there just not happy. It looks like the clutch there, getting his mechanic to have a look at it, and he'll be all right, we feel sure, because, as he said, this is one championship, the World of Sport Superbike Challenge, that he would really like to win, but he's got a lot of opposition. Graham Crosby there, the Super Kiwi, looking quite happy, but he did tell me it's taking a little while to get back into short-circuit racing after a week in the Isle of Man. It's a completely different technique, of course, so let's see how he goes today. The green leathers you can see in the middle of that shot, that's Corky Valentin, the 250 and 350cc world champion of 1978 and 1979. And the only thing I think everybody agrees stopped him winning it last year was an illness. But we're ready now for an 18-lap race, and away they go on this very first lap. You'll see them drop into position. There's wheelies being popped, and Rocket Ron Haslam appears to have made a very, very good start indeed there with number 7, Barry Sheen, just on his inside, and the rest of the field now sweeping through around Redgate safely on this first lap. A very tricky corner indeed, especially on the first circuit, till those tyres have warmed completely. But already it looks like Rocket Ron Haslam from Langley Mill, a collection now, he tells me, of nearly 70 guns, and he can gun that Honda. Around the old hairpin, you can see already the field streaming out. A lot of tactics come into this racing. And that's the leader still, Rocket Ron Haslam. Number 2, you'll see him clambering all over the machine. Ron Haslam leads from Barry Sheen, and someone's down there. It looked possibly like Graham Wood, I'm not sure. but he certainly went down. It looks very much like Graham. It is indeed. Number 18 is Graham Wood, so his challenge in the Superbike challenge is out. But as you can see, perfectly okay. He just slid off there at the old hairpin. But now coming down Starkey Straight, and it's still Ron Haslam from Barry Sheen, changing down through the gearbox now into the chicane. And it's Ron Haslam really loves this circuit because it's his home circuit. He comes from just up the road, and he leads at the end of lap 1 from number 7, Barry Sheen, in second place. Barry, of course, with his 500cc Works Grand Prix Yamaha compared to the 1,123cc in that Honda of Ron Haslam. Around the Redgate they go, into Hollywood, down to Craner Curves, cranking these machines over at incredible angles. Ron Haslam down through the gearbox, down to about 85 miles an hour for the old hairpin, and around they go safely. Barry Sheen holding on and closing just a little under Starkey's Bridge. Up now to McLean's. Ron Haslam really trying all he knows, and Barry Sheen closing just a little on this 500cc Grand Prix machine. A little wheelie as they go up the short straight now, up to about 90 miles an hour, changing down around Copper's Corner at 70 miles an hour, up to 80 miles an hour, and Barry Sheen really hanging off that machine and closing the gap. And look at Barry, when he touched down behind that screen, he is determined. Down, changing down through the gearbox, Barry Sheen having a go on the inside, and Barry Sheen has got through, just outbraked him, so Rocket Ron Haslam now in second place. Barry Sheen leading this championship and leading this particular round. Number 11, Roger Marshall, that looked like the third place rider, but this is the battle for first and second, and they've completed now 2 laps of this 18-lap race. Around Redgate, down through Hollywood and Craner Curves. They're going down through there at around about 120, 130 miles an hour. And there's Barry Sheen there, the 500cc world champion in 1966 and 1967, is leading from Rocket Ron Haslam under Starkey's Bridge. And Barry Sheen has got an excellent start that he wanted, and these two already pulling out quite a gap over the third place rider, who is indeed number 11. But that's the leader, Barry Sheen and Ron Haslam. A wheelie indeed, and that's not put on because there's so much power goes to this rear wheel that the front wheel involuntarily lifts off the ground. On to the fastest part of the circuit now, down Starkey Straight, 150 miles an hour. And the wheel just lifts off the ground as they sit up from behind that fairing, down through the gearbox, down to a first gear corner at 45 miles an hour from 150 miles an hour in that very short distance. 3 laps completed for number 7, Barry Sheen. He looks over his shoulder and he sees Rocket Ron Haslam there with him. Ron Haslam, one of the really up-and-coming stars, a man who hasn't made it into Grand Prix racing for World Championship, but I do know that's his ambition, but he can certainly know it. And there's number 11, Roger Marshall, the man who was holding on to third place, bitterly disappointed. He was runner-up in the championship last year, and he is very disappointed indeed, Roger Marshall, because he was out to really go today. The leader there then is Barry Sheen, and Barry, I think, has got off to a really good start. Well, yes, I'm surprised, Peter, that Barry took the lead so early in the race, because perhaps he's in training for the next weekend's Dutch TT, which is a similar type of circuit where the rider really has to work hard. But it's incredible, this 500 machine of the Yamaha of Sheen's looks as fast, if not faster, than the 1,000 or 1,100cc Honda of Haslam. But he seems he wants to clear off and have an easy race towards the end of it. Well, just checking our lap sheets, and number 4, Graham Crosby, is in 6th place. Number 10, Nick Flanders, 7th. The 3rd place now is held by number 31, Bob Smith from St. Helens. He's up there mixing it with them. So that's the 1st and 2nd, Barry Sheen and Ron Haslam. 1st and 2nd, and look at the gap they've opened up before the pursuers. And we now have 3rd, 4th and 5th, and that is number 31, that's Bob Smith, followed by number 30, Wayne Gardner, with the sit-up-and-beg Marawaki Kawasaki, and number 4, Supercross, Graham Crosby, is in 5th place at the moment. 3rd, 4th and 5th, very close racing indeed. Bob Smith from St. Helens lying 7th in the Motorcycle News Superbike Championship this year and is leading the British Solo Championship. So he's a man to be reckoned with. Number 30, Wayne Gardner, is quite a character. And number 4, Supercross behind him. So they're riding in very close company. Wayne Gardner trying to emulate, in actual fact, I think, Graham Crosby, who came to this country first time a few years ago with a sit-up in Beg Kawasaki and really made a name for himself. Number 30, Wayne Gardner from New Zealand, is trying to do the same thing. But that's the battle now for 3rd, 4th and 5th place. Smith, Gardner and Crosby.
Well, Peter and Wayne Gardner in practice had terrible sorts of trouble with his bike and his tyres and his wheels, and didn't actually get a qualifying time and started on the back of the grid.
And has lost a place there already too, because Graham Crosby has come up on the inside and is now up into 4th place, and he's got Bob Smith in his sights. 3rd, 4th and 5th, Supercross. Graham Crosby perhaps now just getting back in the groove after his week in the Isle of Man, and this is a completely different sort of racing. He told me this morning during practice he's just starting to get the feel of it, so he's feeling pretty good at the moment, lying in 4th place with Bob Smith, leader of the British Championship this year. And Crosby, I thought, was going to nip on the inside there as they go through Hollywood down to Craner Curves. And the leader on official lap times is 1:15.8. The leader is lapping in 1 minute 15.8. The record is 1 minute 14.3. Bob Smith, a crafty look over his shoulder, and he knows he's got some opposition coming up behind him. Bob Smith, number 4 with the 500 Work Suzuki, and Des Crosby having a go. There he was, just sussing out where he can get through. He's chasing Bob Smith with a 750 Yamaha, the 500 Work Suzuki, around Coppice, and Crosby here may just have the speed to tweak it. This is where he got past Gardner. Bob Smith looks over his shoulder, quite casually you would think, and he sees Graham Crosby coming up alongside him. Supercross is out breaking him. He does indeed. So Crosby now up into 3rd place from Bob Smith, and Wayne Gardner dropping behind now. So Graham Crosby back now up into 3rd place. Bob Smith looks over his shoulder and he sees that they're dropping Wayne Gardner in 5th place, who is dropping back. 6 laps completed, and that is 1/3 distance. And there's Wayne Gardner, number 30. Phil, you were saying he had trouble in practice. It seems to have caught up with him again.
Yeah, well, he's hoping to use this, if he couldn't get up with the leaders, hoping to use this for practice for the later races. But obviously something else has gone further wrong. Very disappointing for him. Gives a sensation at the early meetings this year.
A really tremendous character. I think we're going to hear a lot more of him. But this is Barry Sheen, number 7, the race leader. He has 12 cats at home, would you believe, Barry Sheen? Quite an animal lover, and he also got a German Shepherd dog, so there's quite a houseful down at Charlwood. But Barry now really is determined to win the World Championship back for Britain, and as he told me this morning, if he doesn't, it won't be for the want of trying. Barry Sheen coming in on the lap number 7 of this 18-lap race. He leads the World of Sport Superbike Challenge by 3 points from Graham Crosby, having won the first round, and he's pulling away now from number 2, Ron Haslam. Still holding on to that 2nd place. Ron Haslam 2nd in the Formula 1 TT last week. Around Hollywood, Craner Curves, through there at around about 130 miles an hour, and just watch that knee almost on the ground, but not quite. But occasionally it does actually catch the ground. Tremendous angle, and he's using every inch of the road. This is a very determined Barry Sheen today. He's got the Dutch TT at Assen next weekend, where he's going back to the World Championship standards, and he wants to get up among the leaders and get a victory. And this is a perfect tryout for him, and he really is in a determined mood today, Barry Sheen.
Well, certainly, he's riding exceptionally well, as he has been having to do in the previous 4 Grand Prix, when he's been up against machines with superior power. You notice that Haslam's machine is only half faired, so he must lose a bit of speed down the straight. Half fair, that's because they can't get a fairing to fit around this big 1100cc 4-stroke engine.
Tremendous piece of machinery and a tremendous rider aboard. Barry looks over his shoulder, then tucks right down behind that fairing. And now they've completed 8 laps of this 18-lap race into Redgate Corner, a 2nd gear corner around about 80 miles an hour, before clicking up through the gearbox and swooping down through Hollywood and Craner curves. And look at that knee, almost on the ground. I know riders do have plastic and thickened leather on the kneecaps of the leathers now, simply because they do actually drag along the track on occasions. And he is really trying, Barry Sheene.
Well, Peter, Barry tells me earlier that this machine he's riding today now is going back to Amsterdam in Holland tonight for various modifications to be done on it. I'd say to Barry, leave it alone. It looks to be going okay to me.
The way he's going at the moment, and already starting to catch up some of the tail enders. Mike Hugt, number 74 from Stoke Mandeville, is about to be swallowed by Barry Sheene.